So kicking off my Retro Rewind, I'm going to be upgrading my Retroid Pocket 2 to 2 Plus. The Retroid Pocket 2 came out way back in September 2020, so you can imagine how long I've been sitting on this handheld. The 2 Plus released early 2022 and it's a much needed upgrade from the 2, but I'll get onto that after the build. What you get in the box is the replacement screen, which is actually an optional feature, but in my case I think is a much needed upgrade. Some button replacements, screws and mounting posts, a piece of perspex for you to attach your Retroid Pocket 2 main board so you can use it as a standalone Android console, and lastly you have the main board. Using the supplied tweezers, and I must add it's probably the worst tweezers I've ever used, and in hindsight I should have used my own tweezers. You have to first remove all the rubber feet that hide the screws and then remove all 4 screws. Using a guitar pick or pry tool, carefully find a gap to wedge your pry tool in and carefully unlatch each latch that is holding the case together from all 4 sides. Once done, be careful not to pull the back casing apart as the battery is taped on the back casing and the cable is attached to the board. Detach the cable, speakers and remove all visible screws and ribbon cables from the board. Ensure you remove all screws before lifting the board, as I forgot one in the bottom corner. To remove the board, carefully pull the top casing slightly so the port can come free from the case. Once done, you should be able to take the board out with ease. At this point, I decided to assemble the Retroid Pocket 2 board to the pieces of perspex. This is easily done by adding the screw posts to the perspex and securing them with the screws. Next, lay the Retroid Pocket 2 board on top of the posts, followed by the Type-C connector. Don't do what I did and attach the cables at the end. This should be done before adding the perspex piece. And there you have it, a standalone Android console which you can connect to a TV. As I say, I'll do a quick follow-up competition video to win this Retroid Pocket 2 board. So the next bit was probably the hardest part of all, removing the screen. Basically it's stuck on with some strong 3M tape. I thought of adding some rubbing alcohol to loosen the tape, which definitely did work around the sides of the screen, but the middle part was extremely hard to remove. There are only 2 parts you can really push the screen out from, but there wasn't much surface area to push the screen out cleanly. In the end I had to damage the screen to remove everything. But once removed, remove all the adhesive tape cover and place a new screen inside and press firmly into place. Add all the new buttons and button membranes in. I was sad to not have the Game Boy coloured buttons, but I still think the 2 Plus looks great with the black buttons. Add the Retroid Pocket 2 Plus board in and reattach everything back to the new board. Screw everything down and close the case. As I say, the screen is a welcome change due to its touchscreen functionality. At the end of the day, this is an Android device and it makes a lot more sense having a touchscreen. The 2 done this by adding a toggle to use a thumbstick as a mouse cursor, which is not a great experience in my opinion. Speaking of the thumbstick, they strangely went for a sliding nub comparable to a PSP analog stick. Maybe this was done because it made the profile smaller so you don't accidentally hit the analog stick, and also possibly it's not used as much as the left analog stick, but in any case I'm not a fan of those types of analog sticks, so let's it down a few points because of it. The left sticks are comparable to a Joy-Con analog stick, so no complaints there. The face buttons uses a rubber membrane and seems fine. The shoulder buttons feel clicky, and triggers are membrane buttons, so they feel like the face buttons. Turning on the console for the first time, you're greeted with a setup guide asking you what language, Wi-Fi, and then what emulators you want to add. I just went ahead and added all of them. The Retroid Pocket 2 Plus gives you a custom launcher which you can choose from. It has the regular Android launcher with all the apps displayed, a launcher that you can select your favorite apps, and lastly, which I will probably use as my default, a launcher with your consoles. Simply select the consoles you have the ROM for and it will be displayed as tiles like a Switch menu. Adding games is as easy as finding a path to the ROM folder. It will scrape for any box art and select a suitable emulator to play it on. Of course, this can be all edited through the menu. Onto gameplay. As I say, this was pretty surprising for me, as it's able to play your usual consoles like Super Nintendo, N64, GBA, PS1, But testing some PSP games, I was able to play some easy to run PSP titles. Bear in mind that God of War will not run well. Dreamcast games pretty much played at full speed. And I was able to run some GameCube games. Again, it's not going to be at full speed, but I'm surprised it was able to play at all. So don't go on thinking you'll be able to play your GameCube library. And lastly, PS2. And like GameCube, it's going to be hit or miss and will not be running at full speed. Overall, the Retroid Pocket 2 Plus is a good handheld. The reason why I got this over, say, an Anbernic device is the design and the OS. I like how the design of the Retroid Pocket 2 is a bit different in design compared to a lot of other Retroid handhelds that are currently on the market, with the position of the shoulder buttons and the positions of the analog sticks being above the D-pad. I think having an Android OS gives you a lot more flexibility and familiarity, as well as support when it comes to emulation. The 2 Plus also comes with a rumble feature, which I personally do not care too much and will probably disable it, but it's a feature to mention. What I dislike about the device is the right analog stick. I think it was a terrible design choice and would have preferred the same analog stick to the left one. The touchscreen is also a welcome upgrade, and personally I think it's much needed for Android devices. So if you have an old Retroid Pocket 2, would I suggest you upgrade? I'll probably say not. Although it's a better upgrade, for a $10 saving, if you decide to upgrade it yourself, it's probably not worth the hassle. Instead, if you want to upgrade to a slightly powerful device, check out my next video, the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers!